Welcome to Tequila and Terror, a paranormal and true crime podcast where we drink tequila and tell terrible tales. My name is Keisha, and I will be covering the paranormal stories, and Wes will cover true crime. Welcome to episode 9, everybody.
Keisha has a ghost story. I don't know what it is, but what is it, Keisha?
Okay, we're going to be discussing the oldest hotel in Birmingham, Alabama, the Redmont Hotel. The Redmont Hotel was advertised as Birmingham's most modern hotel.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, when it first opened in 1925. It featured 200 rooms and had amenities that were not typical of the time, such as private baths in each room, ceiling fans, and cooled water. The Redmont was built where the first Christian church once stood in Birmingham, and it opened for business in 1925. In 1926, the hotel's ground floor tenants included Hotel Redmont Cigar Stand, the Hotel Redmont Barber Shop, Hagen Dunlap, Hagen, I'm going to say Hagen, because it's probably not like Haagen-Dazs. But if Haagen-Dazs wants to sponsor us, hit your girl.
Is that donuts?
No, that's the ice cream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would take ice cream.
Haagen-Dazs. Hagen Dunlap Drug Company.
Could be a tire company for Dunlap tires.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I think it is.
I don't know anything about tires.
I don't know anything about ice cream. So.
It's not my specialty.
Oh.
And Western Union Telegraph Office.
Pretty booming place.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just for like their first year. So it's pretty fancy. They got established pretty quickly. November 1st of 1934. That's where stuff starts going a little crazy. A pair of robbers were caught attempting a robbery on the 8th floor of the hotel after having just finished robbing someone else in Birmingham. They were caught by Birmingham police, who chased the robbers to the lobby and shot both robbers, one fatally and one was shot in the arm but survived. There are, or were prior to all of the renovations that eventually happened, bullet holes in the wall of the staircase in the lobby. And they are rumored to have been from this event, but also there was a source that claimed that these were from a shootout between Al Capone and the FBI when he got caught bootlegging whiskey. But I honestly didn't look too much into that because it was just one of the sources that I saw.
That's a pretty cool story if that's true.
I mean, even if it isn't, it's a cool theory. You know, take it as you will. So, furthering the tale here. 1934, so 1937, the Rainbow Room Lounge was introduced, becoming the meeting place for, quote-unquote, the Knothole Gang, which was an informal group of influential people in Birmingham at the time, and not a group of villains, like really? I thought. It was
Sounds
just a
pretty
group
villainy.
of, like, really good people.
It seems like there's a rainbow room in every city, too.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't...
Well, there's one in Nashville.
Oh, okay. Well, we know too much about Nashville, so. Hi, Nashvillians.
Sup?
Is that what you call yourselves? Well, let me know. In 1946, Clifford Stiles of the Stiles Brothers hotel chain purchased the hotel and either turned the top floor into a penthouse apartment or added a penthouse apartment floor onto the roof. People said it weird. In all of the different sources that I saw, I'm assuming he just turned the top floor into a penthouse, but...
Makes more sense.
Yeah, because that would be a lot of work for very little reward. So he turned the top floor into a penthouse apartment in 1947, and he would host elegant parties with Birmingham's elite as the guests. Super fancy guy, right? Apparently he passed away in 1975. Natural causes, I'm assuming. But apparently he loved the hotel so much that his spirit lingers at the hotel. Because people will say there is a, quote, sophisticated, gentlemanly spirit that has been spotted checking up on hotel staff. And most people believe it to be him. Like,
Well,
he's still checking in to make sure people are doing their jobs right and treating the hotel guests correctly.
that's pretty cool.
I mean, Talk about a workaholic.
A ghost is the head of customer service.
Yeah. Hashtag write that Yelp review.
Yeah. Never clocking out.
Come by any time you check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. What's that
Yeah,
song?
Hotel California.
I was trying not to go too in depth into it.
Ghostly guy was very nice but pale. He carried my bags to the room, didn't say much, and then walked through the wall and left.
Would not take the tip.
Yes, very strange fellow.
He put it in his pocket, and then I found it later. None of this actually happened, y'all. Okay, so in 1951, the second floor ballroom was actually used by a company called the Theater in the Round. It was a production company that was short-lived due to the high overhead cost of performing in the middle of the ballroom. Like, literally, they performed in the middle of the room instead of on a stage. Sounds cool, but I'm sure that was pricey. So that was something cool that happened. In 1952, singer Hank Williams spent his last night alive in the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Thought you'd like that. Some say that they have seen a figure wearing dark pants and a white shirt, which is believed to be his ghost. It is reported that staff have seen him walking the halls and have seen him in the room that he stayed in. His ghost has also been reportedly spotted at his mother's house or his childhood home in the Andrew Johnson Hotel, where he stopped on his last trip, as well as this one. The Elite Cafe, where his last performance was, and near his grave in Oakwood Cemetery. I am really concerned about this, though, because I know there are different kinds of, like, spirit things. Like, it might not be an actual ghost. It may just be residual energy. I'm just assuming here. I'm also kind of concerned, like, can ghosts time travel? Because how is he at all these different places at once?
Well, old Hank is still on tour, Keisha.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I bet he's got his fiddle on a bus and he's just going town to town, rocking them all out.
That makes a lot of sense now that you say it. I really appreciate that.
He's got nothing but time, really.
That shouldn't have been that funny, but you're right.
I mean, what are you going to do
in your afterlife?
Yeah. He's like, well, Hank's going to drink a little bit, but...
Might as well. Do what you got to do. One suite at the hotel gained the nickname the Governor's Suite, as it was actually used as the headquarters for a couple of campaigns for governorship.
I just thought of something.
What?
We need to write a ghost country song about Ghost Hank Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe not right now. If we had more booze in us, there would be a song right now.
Somebody write us that song.
I'm really feeling it.
What is it?
Yeah.
Songbird or Songsmith? Songsmith. Somebody buy us a Songsmith for Valentine's Day.
Or just booze and we'll make it.
I mean, yeah. I just kind of want it to be professional if it's going to be a
Keisha,
song.
you don't think this is professional?
Oh, God. Sorry. I was wrong. Anyways, in 1983, the hotel was purchased by Hospitality Investments, which was a group that included multiple NBA players, including Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Ralph Sampson.
You're just so good about saying that.
Thank you. But the players were not personally involved in the $7 million renovation project.
Holy crap.
That's so much
Hank
money.
trashed the place, didn't he?
No, he was only there one night. Where the number of rooms actually was taken from 240 to 110. They did some structural reconditioning. So, I mean, that's...
Probably modernized it, too. Put
A
bathrooms and stuff in it.
They already had bathrooms. I just told you this, Wesley.
Well, Keisha, I've drank booze.
Oh, my God, you don't listen to me.
Let me turn the headset on.
Oh, my God. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar visited Birmingham post-renovation, he stayed in the presidential suite.
Of course. Have you ever heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or whatever his name is, talk?
I've never heard that guy talk, no.
Sorry. At least you can say his name.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Wait, I'm looking at Dikembe Mutombo.
I don't know who that is either. I don't sport.
He's a funny talking basketball player.
Okay, cool. We've gone through that side story. Oh, God. In 1983, the building was added to the National Registry of Historic Places. The property switched hands multiple other times throughout the years and is now a Curio Collection by Hilton hotel, which has completely been updated thanks to a multi-million-dollar restoration that began in 2014. It officially reopened in March 8th, 2016. It consists of 11 floors with 120 guest rooms, a restaurant.
A restaurant.
Consists
Southern Keisha comes out.
It consists of 11 floors with 120 guest rooms, a restaurant, bar, and a cafe. Listen, Linda. Okay, so more spoopy, but without explanation. The 9th floor is said to be haunted by a woman in white, but literally I could not find any stories that support this other than saying, quote unquote, a woman in white who was killed at the hotel haunts the 9th floor. So who knows? Like, there's no actual evidence. There are also reports that the ghost of a small dog roams around the hotel. Some people say that they believe it to be the previous owner, Clifford Stiles' dog. Others believe that it might be the woman in white's dog, but how are we supposed to know? Because we don't know anything about her. Girl, we need to know more about you.
Yeah, haunt more.
Let me know. Write me a biography.
Yeah, come out with your ghost dog and tell us some stories.
Hit your girl up. Learn how to use email. It's 2019. People have also reported experiencing doors opening and closing themselves, furniture and baggage moving on their own. Some people think that this is Mr. Stiles again, but some people are just like, it's a ghost!
I can see that.
It's a ghost. One source also claimed that a man set himself on fire in the hotel and that he still haunts the property, but I also was not able to find anything further on this situation, and so I was kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one.
Yeah, you would think if somebody set herself on fire, there would be a news article.
Yeah, I mean, I read one article that said that there was a self-contained. There was a fire in one of the closets at one point in 1920 something or 30 something, but that it wasn't out of hand. Nobody got hurt, and then this one was just man sets himself on fire in the hotel. Yay! He's a ghost. He's a haunting. He's a haunted. But I don't know. The place looked really cool. It's really fancy. And Birmingham's kind of awesome. So
I've never heard of it before. So
I was interested in learning more about it. So that was the Redmont Hotel, everyone.
I know we go through Birmingham when we went to the beach that one time, and it looked pretty nice. And there's that country song called Paint Me a Birmingham.
You are correct, sir.
So that's about what I know about Birmingham.
I have a friend who used to live in Birmingham. She went to college there.
Really?
Yeah. She took dance lessons at college. That's all I really remember from the experience.
Paint me a Birmingham.
Okay. So what are you telling your story on tonight?
Well, my story is about Mary Vincent. She's a badass. Mary Vincent was a typical 15-year-old girl. She had already been a successful dancer around Las Vegas where she lived with her parents.
Wait,
Yeah, she was a dancer in some of the local casinos and stage shows.
Oh, okay. So
and she even traveled some.
Okay. So not a concerning.
No, she was kind of like a Cirque du Soleil kind of deal.
So she was
yeah, she was awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
But her parents were super strict and they didn't allow her to wear makeup, but she did anyway. She was real hormonal and kind of boy crazy, and she started skipping school and hanging out with her boyfriend. But the stress kind of kept piling up on Mary when her parents decided to go through with a divorce. She decided that she needs some time alone, so she ran away from home. After a while of living with her older boyfriend, he was accused of raping a 15-year-old girl at the local high school.
Holy crap.
So after he was arrested, Mary decided to go stay with her grandfather in Los Angeles, so she decided to hitchhike there.
Worst decision ever.
Yeah. Hitchhiking's usually a bad idea. I picked up some hitchhikers that were pretty fun, though.
Wait. Are you being serious?
Yeah, I like to pick up hitchhikers.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah. They always have cool stories.
This is the difference between men and women, because I would instantly think I was getting murdered.
After this story, nobody should pick up hitchhikers, so this is a good anti-hitchhiker story.
Yeah. Don't.
But Mary's hitchhiking, she decided on September 29th, 1978, she was going to hitchhike to her grandfather's house. She was waiting on the side of the road, and after a little while, a light blue van pulled up beside her. There was a middle-aged bald man named Larry Singleton. His full name was Lawrence Singleton, but his friends called him Larry. She said he seemed very friendly, and with a smile, he told her that I have a daughter your age. She said, I need a ride up to the interstate. He said, well, I'm heading to Reno, but I can turn around and give you a ride to the interstate.
I don't trust it.
Yeah. She said there was nothing about how he talked to her that made her feel uneasy, so she climbed into the van. As they started to drive, the man told her that he needed to stop by his house and pick up some laundry. Mary agreed, even helped him carry laundry into his van. Said that everything seemed normal. She said he just seemed like a perfectly normal older guy. Once they were on the way towards the interstate, Mary pulled out a cigarette and sneezed after taking a puff. As she opened her eyes, a hand appeared on the back of her neck. He said, let me see if you're sick. So I guess he was going to try to feel if she had fever on the back of her neck or something, or just being creepy in general. Mary said she pulled herself out of his reach, not liking the physical contact that he was giving her. So after that, he kind of respected that. He just went back to driving and left her alone.
Well, I'm sure in a situation, from the clues that you have given me, in a situation like that, he probably wants to gain her trust until she lets that guard down again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he was seeing how, to me, it seems like he was trying to push the boundaries.
Yeah, see how much he can get away with at what point.
Yeah. Mary, she started drifting off to sleep. When she woke up, she realized they were way off course. As she woke up, she realized that they were way off course. Mary said she had an uneasy feeling with the situation. She felt around looking for a weapon and got her hands on a survey stick and pointed it at him. She said, I can take care of myself, turn around now. He said, I'm not going to hurt you. She said, I missed an exit. It was an honest mistake. I'll turn around and get us back on the path. Mary said he seemed completely calm and kept apologizing. So he just really acted like it was no big deal. He was just missing the exit. So once they were headed back towards the interstate, Mary started relaxing. It wasn't far down that road when he told her that he needed to pee. So he pulled off down a long road into a canyon. He said he didn't have time to make it to a gas station. Instead, he drove a good way down the road and stopped. He got out to pee, and Mary decided that she would too. So she gets out to pee, and while she's got his back turned to her, he comes up and hits her on the back of the head. She said she felt two hard blows, one to her back and one to the back of her head. She was knocked to the ground. When she looked up, she saw him standing over her. He grabbed her and forced his penis into her mouth and made her give him oral sex. Yeah. That didn't satisfy him, so he grabbed her and threw her inside the van. He told her not to scream or he'd kill her. And he pretty much told her, obey me if you want to live.
Oh my God.
He then raped her and sodomized her in the back of the van.
Jesus.
He tied her hands behind her back and drove a little bit. Then he stopped. He cut her hands free and ordered her to drink some unknown alcohol and some type of drug mixture from a plastic jug. saying, "Drink it or I will kill you." She said it made her very woozy and confused. She said the last thing she remembers was Larry, a Singleton, raping her. When she came to, Singleton told her to get out of the van and lie on the ground by the edge of the road. Mary said she was terrified, but complied with his orders. She pleaded with him, "Please set me free." She said, I kept saying, "Just please set me free." She said from where she was laying on the ground, she heard him walk back to the van and rummage around in it a little bit before walking back to her. She said that he stood over her and said, "You want to be free? I'll set you free." He then got on top of her and pulled out a hatchet.
Oh, my God.
She struggled as he lifted the hatchet above his head. He brought it down in her left arm and struck her 3 times on the left arm with the hatchet, severing her left forearm.
Oh, my God.
She said she was screaming. She was trying to fight him, but he continued. He then moved over to her right arm, severing it in 2 blows. The man stood up and pushed her down a steep embankment. He watched her roll down to the bottom. Once she was at the bottom, he went down the embankment and pushed her into a concrete pipe. She said she was starting to feel unconscious. The last thing he told her before he left was, "Okay, now you're free." Mary didn't really know how long she was out, but she woke up a short time later and said that he was gone. She was completely alone in the middle of this canyon road by herself. She was bleeding very badly. She was naked, and she had nothing to stop the bleeding.
Man.
So she crawls out of this pipe. So, to me, that's insane there, that this guy beat her, cut her arms off, tossed her down this embankment, left her to bleed out. She's still alive at this point.
Yeah.
Then, being the badass she is, she crawls up this embankment, and she puts her arms above her head to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And to keep the muscles falling and all the gooey bits of her arm from falling out, pretty much.
Ugh, Wes.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Ugh.
So she climbs up this embankment, and she got up to the canyon road that leads to the main highway. She said she started hearing cars, so she started walking towards that noise. Said it was about 3 miles down that road before she could get to the highway.
Holy crap.
She gets up to the first car, and they didn't stop.
Well, of course. I mean, if you have a girl who looks like she's from a freaking horror movie,
waving a bloody stubs around.
Yeah. I'm assuming that he left her half naked, if not
she was completely naked.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you have this naked girl coming at you who looks kind of like a zombie probably at this point. Completely dirty, gross, blood all over her, missing, limbs.
Yeah, she was
That was terrifying, I'm sure.
So they just passed her.
Oh, yeah.
A couple shortly after them on a vacation saw her and immediately pulled over. Thank God for those people.
Yeah.
So, they wrapped her in towels and drove her to a nearby airport where they were able to call an ambulance. The only word she was able to say before she passed out was, "He raped me."
Oh.
So she was rushed to the hospital and had surgery. The police started asking her about what happened. Mary was able to give a detailed description about the suspect. And from that description, they put out a police drawing or a sketch. They said the sketch was perfect description of the man. So perfect that when they put it on TV, one of Larry's neighbors seen it on TV and called the cops and said, "Hey, that's my neighbor that you're looking for on TV."
Crap.
So they
That
said
is
that
awesome.
Yeah.
She's 15, right?
Yeah.
So she has probably more active memory skills than a grown adult because she's been in school. Like, she's actually having to use her brain.
Yeah.
Like, we just go through the motions of every day. So she probably was, like, hardcore in it.
Yeah. Plus, she is she's an artist, too.
Yeah.
So, you could see that with her dancing.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's pretty awesome that once he was identified through the drawing, the police tracked him down and arrested him for rape, sodomy, oral copulation, kidnapping, mayhem, and attempted murder.
Oh, my God.
5 months after being attacked, Mary faced Singleton in court. He insisted that Mary was nothing more than a prostitute, claiming he hadn't committed a crime. He said Mary was high on reefer and threatened to accuse him of rape if he didn't drive her to Los Angeles. He claimed that she had two scruffy-looking hitchhikers with her that raped her, and he assumed that they were the ones that attacked her, too. Singleton said she was nothing more than a $10 a night whore.
Oh, my God.
When Mary took the stand, she had to walk past him. When she did, Singleton whispered something to her that made her pale, but it didn't stop her walking. She later said he told her, "I'll finish the job if it takes me the rest of my life."
What?
Yeah, in court, this motherfucker told her, "I'll finish the job if it takes me the rest of my life."
What in the world? Who does that?
Mary refused to look at Singleton, but she recounted everything that happened to her in a firm voice. So she was a badass. She got up there and said, this bastard did this to me.
Yeah.
She stood up in front of court, pointed him out with her hook that she had, because it's been 5 months since she had a hook placed on her hand.
Yeah.
And said, "That is my attacker." She wouldn't call him by name. She pretty much refused to.
Well, because that makes him seem more human to call him by name.
Yeah. I think from this point, he doesn't deserve a name.
Yeah.
The jury found him guilty, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
This is the part that's going to piss everybody off. This is the part of the story that made me mad.
Oh, God.
Yeah. At the sentencing, the judge said if he had the power, he would sentence Singleton to life. Unfortunately, though, due to the laws in California at the time, Singleton could only be sentenced to 14 years in prison.
What?
Yeah. 14 years in prison.
14 years.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
It's yeah. Doesn't get any better.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Mary was terrified that he'd come back and finish off what he started. I mean, he told her he would.
Yeah.
Mary survived, but she didn't feel like a survivor. She said after the attack, she fell into a deep depression. She had hopes of dreams of becoming a professional dancer and traveling the world, but after reconstructive surgery on her arms, she was unable to dance again. They said they took a bone out of her leg to help rebuild one of her stumps. Ow. So she could have a better prosthetic placed.
Yeah. Ow.
Vincent was terrified at home. She was having trouble with family and she was isolated. She went to a specialized school for the handicapped that pretty much taught her how to function without hands. Mm-hmm. She said it was a very painful injury. She said, "I wanted to totally give up, but whenever I said I can't do it, I won't do it, a very stubborn hospital therapist said, you can, you will, and you must." So this hospital was probably really good for her to go to. She moved away as soon as she graduated and became secretive about her life and location. Traumatized and depressed, she also became anorexic. She had trouble leaving the house and saw many of her relationships fall apart.
Man.
She says she spent many years shuddering at the very thought of that afternoon. She suffered from relentless nightmares and drifted from town to town. She was unable to find a job and couldn't afford to get her prosthetic arms fixed. Man. She filed for bankruptcy and survived mostly off donations and welfare. She ended up marrying a guy, but due to the circumstances of her life, the marriage lasted 3 years before they divorced. Said she went 21 years without smiling. Mary said her life seemed like it was going downhill again until she met her second husband, Tom Wilson. He was an investigator in a prosecutor's office, and they crossed paths when she went to talk to the district attorney. He quickly became her backbone and number one supporter, and her bodyguard.
Aww.
He was also kind of a manager because he encouraged her to share her story and advocate for victims' rights. Mm. While she once considered herself a victim, now she was a survivor and a victim's advocate. She said before the thought of the ordeal traumatized her, but now she was willing to speak publicly about that afternoon in hopes that it would prevent other young women from getting in cars with hitchhikers. Mary went on to have 2 sons and attended college. While Mary can no longer dance, she discovered a new talent, drawing. She says, before I couldn't draw a straight line, even with a ruler. I would mess it up. This is something I woke up with after the attack. My artwork has inspired me and gave me self-esteem. Art has brought a new joy to her life as well as a new direction. Some of her art sells for up to $2,000.
Holy crap.
So that makes sense,
awesome.
really. She probably was artistic the whole time. So.
Yeah.
Mary filed a civil suit against Singleton, and it was settled for $2.5 million. But she was unable to claim it because Singleton was unemployed and poor health and only had $200 to his name.
Oh, my God.
So let's get back to Larry. Yeah, I know. I hate this guy so much.
When he dies, I just want the worst death for him.
So I told you a little bit ago that Larry got 14 years in prison.
Yeah.
Well, Larry was a good boy. So he got out after just serving 8 years in prison. He got paroled for good behavior.
That's the worst.
Shortly before his release, the prison psychologist said he is so out of touch with his hostility and anger, he remains an elevated threat to others inside and outside the prison.
Okay, so he's an elevated threat. So let's just release him back into the one condition, the outside world, where he has the ability to affect others negatively with his actions.
This guy is a threat to people in prison, but let's go ahead and send him outside.
Yeah.
Just insane. The public expressed a massive outrage against this leniency. Numerous protests of his parole were staged across the state. People made signs and put in their yard that said, "Drop dead Larry and get the maniac out of the town." Larry was unremorseful. He claimed he was innocent and never raped or dismembered her.
Her arms just fell off.
Yeah, it's the damnedest thing.
Lord have mercy, that man is an idiot.
Since he was on parole, he had to live in a town close to the prison for a year. All the towns around the prison refused to allow him to move in there. So instead of being able to go parole and be free, he ended up spending a year living in a trailer on the grounds of the San Quentin prison.
Holy crap.
They said he was still under a curfew and the guards kept a watch on him. But that only lasted for a year, and then he was free to go.
Jesus.
So our buddy Larry here goes to Florida.
It's going to be phenomenal. I don't have much faith.
Yeah. Mary was not the only one who feared Singleton. His own daughter said when she found out he was getting out of jail, she fled and hid, asking law enforcement if there was any way to keep him locked behind bars for longer. In her own words, she said, "I asked the California prison personnel what could be done to keep him in longer, and I was told nothing. They suggested I obtain a restraining order at the time of his release. She said, sorry, tell you he is a danger. I said that before the crime. She said, I've changed my mind. I've moved across state lines, and all you suggest is a piece of paper that will tell him exactly where I am and what my name is." So
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does absolutely nothing to protect her.
Singleton, after he was paroled, wrote several letters to Mary's lawyer threatening her. A couple years after his release, a witness called in the Tampa police saying that they saw a nude man raising his arm again and again over a bloody woman. They said a bloody woman was slouched over his couch. He told police it sounds like bones crushing, like chicken bones breaking. When police arrived, they were met with none other than Larry Singleton. It was his home, and he was covered in blood. On the inside lay the lifeless body of Roxanne Hayes, a 31-year-old prostitute who had arranged a date with Singleton. He had agreed to pay her $20 for sex. Singleton stabbed her to death with a boning knife. She was a mother of 3.
For frickin' $20.
Yeah.
$20.
Yeah.
For your life.
I'm sure that she was not the first prostitute he killed.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, obviously we have no evidence, but you can only assume.
I bet there's other dead hitchhikers out there, too.
I wouldn't be shocked.
But news of this crime reached Mary.
Ooh.
She knew that she had to go to Florida and face Singleton.
Oh, of course.
She wasn't required to testify, but she just knew it was something she had to do.
Because she's a badass,
yeah.
and she was like, I have to keep this from happening to other women.
Yeah.
Like, I have to, it's my duty. This happened to me for a reason, and I have to protect these people, right?
That's exactly what she said. She said this time she would make sure that justice is served.
She's a phenomenal human being. She is so strong.
She went to court, and in court she testified, I was raped. I had my arms cut off. He used a hatchet. He left me to die. He really did. She said that with a slight shudder, with awful pain in her words. He destroyed everything about me, my way of thinking, my way of life. I'm still doing everything I can to hold on. Mary told that to the stunned courtroom as she pointed Singleton out with her prosthetic arm.
Holy crap.
So that had to be a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah.
The assistant state prosecutor said that Mary's testimony pretty much sealed the deal on Singleton. He was sentenced to death.
Thank God for that.
The judge said 20 years ago, Mary got into Mr. Singleton's van, and some 20 years later, Roxanne Hayes got into Mr. Singleton's van. She, unlike Mary, did not survive her meeting with Mr. Singleton. Singleton said while he was in jail, he searched his conscience. He says, thinking that I was guilty of this crime was just heinous. He says, how did the blood get on my clothes and the hatchet? He says, I felt repulsed when he considered the notion that he might have attacked a grown alcoholic Hayes.
Wait, might have attacked what?
He might have attacked the girl in alcoholic Hayes.
Oh, okay.
He was saying that maybe he got drunk and blacked out and attacked her.
Oh, okay. The way that you said it, my brain didn't process.
Oh.
Sorry.
He claims Mary's threat to accuse him of rape incited this violence. He said, I was so afraid of the rape charge that triggered me. Singleton said that he was the victim rather than Mary.
Oh, of course, because he couldn't have done anything wrong. Yeah. You know, trying to kill these people.
He said these feelings were only heightened by being in prison. He says, I wouldn't be a normal human being if I didn't work myself in a rage when I think about how I was treated by the courts and the media. He said, I spent 10 years of my life in prison, each day being taunted and threatened. Singleton said, I'm the victim, and decided to sue her. He said while in jail, he considered the alleged events against him and said he knew he was not guilty. He remembered that Vincent threatened him that she would accuse him of rape, and she brandished a stick at him. He decided this was the reason he became violent. Maintaining mistreatments from the court, he filed a complaint suing Vincent for forcible kidnap for the purposes of robbery. So he decided to sue her for robbing him.
So he came up with a fake story in his head that he believed was true because he could not fathom the idea that he has possibly done all of this.
Yeah.
Even though he did it, because he just doesn't want to be wrong.
Yeah. Luckily, the suit never gained traction and the courts dismissed it.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
You'd be stupid.
Florida's pretty good about seeing through the bullshit. Florida deals with a lot of weird shit.
I mean, if you just search people who are not from Florida, Floridians, I apologize. We love your state. We've been there multiple times. You're great. You're great, honey. You're doing good. People who are not from Florida, if you want to hear the craziest stories about America, Google Florida man. Mm-hmm. That's all you got to do. That's it.
There's also a website called Florida or Russia, and it tells you a story, and you get to try to decide if it happened in Florida or Russia.
Huh? I've never heard of that. We'll have to do that later. I don't know much about Russia, so.
Well, it's pretty much like Florida but cold.
Oh, okay.
And no beaches.
And not English.
Yeah, and more vodka.
I can get down with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Mary's testimony sent Singleton to death row. But he died of cancer in 2001.
I mean...
Good riddance.
Listen.
Yeah.
Your girl is a firm believer that people are going to get what's coming to them in the end. And maybe that was God, the God's karma, whatever you believe in's way of making sure that there was no way that he was getting out of that.
Yeah. Mary said, I wanted to look into his eyes as he died, but now I won't be able to find what I'm looking for. She said, I felt like I was cheated again.
Oh, man.
I think it's awesome that she was going to stare him in the eyes as he died.
Yeah.
I really wanted that to end like that.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to watch it.
Singleton became a national symbol of shortfalls within the criminal justice system. If laws had been less lenient, Lawrence would have never been released and Roxanne would still be alive. Outrage over Singleton's release after what happened to Mary prompted the creation of the Singleton Bill, a bill that states that the crime that involves torture would carry a minimum 25 to life sentence.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, so at least something good came out of it.
Yeah.
And Mary's a badass. She's still living her life. She's doing this awesome art.
She is freaking phenomenal.
It's
like,
crazy.
that woman deserves all of the medals and just wonderful things.
I never heard of the story till last week, and it popped up in another story that I was researching because through the Florida death row, people that were on death row in Florida, and I seen that guy's name came up, and I just clicked on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap.
I think I've heard this before, but it's been a while.
It's just insane.
I mean, it's like a new story when you haven't heard it in forever anyways, so.
Well, I seen that TV show, like How I Lived or How I Escaped. One of those shows like that,
Mm-hmm.
How I Survived, something like that, did her story. So I'm going to have to look that up and see.
I'll have to watch it too, because like I said, I haven't. My memory's crap anyways, but.
But she is a badass.
I just remember, like, you'd said her getting her arms chopped off, and then she, like, put it in the mud and, like, pulled it up.
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
cool.
like, she had packed her wounds.
With mud?
With mud.
That's awesome.
But I remember them talking about a couple being on their honeymoon, ready to go on the highway, and they had picked her up.
Oh, wow. See.
And so, but that's the only thing that made me think maybe that's the same story.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I didn't see that, but I found some what I thought was pretty good sources, so I just went with what they said.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't heard in a while, so.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that she would try to pack her wounds with something.
I mean, that's smarter. I mean, she was, 15, 16?
Yeah.
When this happened, and I'm 28. Am I 28? I'm 28.
Pretty close, I guess.
And I don't think I would think to do that.
I just can't believe how tough she is.
She is such a strong human being. Like, at 15, she was stronger than I am now. Like, I would just lay there and be like, okay, this is how it ends.
I can't imagine the pain that she had felt when he started whacking her arms off.
I know.
I mean, she probably went into shock shortly after that.
And, like, adrenaline, maybe. Yeah. Like, because fight or flight. Like, she probably was like, I've got to get out of this. Like, I've got...
Yeah. Why would he chop her arms off?
Well, if they were fighting, maybe... Like, if she was struggling against him, he may have just went for the easiest way to hurt her.
Yeah.
And, like, took the arm so that she couldn't...
Well, I seen one deal that said that he was chopped her arm off to try to hide the evidence of the body, but back in those days, I know the technology wasn't as good, like dental records and stuff. So, but it still doesn't seem that. The reason I didn't mention that earlier is because I didn't think that seemed like a good.
I feel like she was fighting against him, probably, right?
Yeah.
And she was trying to save her life because she realized at that point, I'm sure, like, oh crap, this is my life. Like, he actually is going to kill me.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to fight against it and see if she could live. And he was going after her with whatever he could to try to make sure he didn't get hurt. Because at that point, I mean, it's probably just like a physical fight.
Yeah. Gosh.
Because he also doesn't want her to get away and then, like she did, tell the world and him get in trouble. So,
how many other girls do you think are in the desert?
I mean, just from this guy?
There's got to be...
numerous.
Yeah, this wasn't his first go with this.
I just feel like... Or maybe it was, and it just went poorly either way, but...
Gosh, I don't know, though. He had the drugs that he drugged her with, and it seems like he had an idea of what to do.
I feel like it was likely his first time for the situation to go...
bad.
Well, or, like, for it to go like that. Like, maybe he had done that... We're just going off of whatever here.
Yeah.
Assuming whatever, but...
I just don't think you go from...
being a normal human being...
to doing this in one go. I mean, he had to...
But what if he had, like, sat at home thinking about... like, visualizing and writing about and planning, like, I want to do this someday.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, that's his deep, dark secret, like, what he thinks about when he's alone. And he had romanticized... raping and killing someone so much, or raping someone so much, or having them, like some of the serial killers, or killers even, have romanticized having a human that is like a sex doll, like not lucid, but not dead.
Yeah, makes sense.
So maybe he...
kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer was trying.
Yeah, maybe he was like that and never... I mean, obviously wouldn't admit it because he's not admitting any fault.
So it's something he ran through in his head a million times, and he finally tried to do his fantasy and botched it.
Maybe, yeah. Which, again, I mean, this is just me assuming...
Makes sense.
Making up stories here, but...
there's no other good explanation.
Yeah, so we're going to make our own.
He might have had some kind of amputation fetish, too. I've seen that there's people that... so you never know.
People fetishize weird stuff.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, whatever
I'll
you're
put
into, but don't kill people.
Pictures of the police sketch and the actual guy up on Instagram, and it's pretty amazing how close it is.
Oh my god. Yeah, I haven't ever thought to look that up on anybody who, like, I hear about, oh yeah, the police sketch was like that. I've never actually looked that up.
Yeah, this...
so it'll be good to, like...
pretty much is like a photocopy of his picture. It's awesome.
That's super exciting.
But you can check out our Instagram page and kind of see what we do in our Twitter, Facebook, all the social media stuff.
Yeah, we are at Tequila and Terror Podcast.
Yeah. On
Instagram.
Sounds good.
At Tequila and Terror Podcast on Facebook. At Tequila_Terror on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweet us. Tweet. We are at Tequila and Terror Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah.
For any, like, suggestions that you want to send us for future episodes, if you want to be like, hey guys, listen to this is great. Hey guys, you suck.
We've got some of them. So.
Yeah. Hey, here's a drink recipe that you should try. Hey, we want to be BFFs, but we live in, like, Russia. That's fine. We'll talk to you. Might not be BFFs. We'll, do the Florida Russia thing with you.
Yeah.
But, anything, book suggestions for our possible future
still
book club.
I guess probably the next episode we'll have that all nailed down.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. But yeah, just,
another shout out to our Australian buddies and our buddies in Texas and Tennessee, two of our favorite states. Sounds like a Lucero song.
It was Texas, it was Tennessee. And Canada.
Yeah.
I got some friends in Canada. I'm real excited about that.
It's really cool.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys for listening to us. Like I said, contact us on our social medias if you have any suggestions or just want to say hi. And we will see you next week.
Bye.